Today's date is June 21st, 2005.
All right, that's for sure the finals.
Yep. Which,
And it got
let's
to
see
be
if you
San
can get,
Antonio.
yes, can you get even more specific?
It's got to be San. So you said what's the date again? June what?
June 21st. So it's
June
late.
21st. So we're probably talking game 6 or 7.
There we go. We are back on track, as you have correctly guessed that this is game 6 of the 2005 finals. We're in San Antonio. I believe Al Michaels on the call, ABC here, and we've got a highlight package in HD of game 6 in which Detroit wins this one to force game 7. Ultimately, you do fall a little bit short in a couple of days, but in this game, and I picked this one in particular, Sheed, because we have spent a lot of time discussing guarding Shaq from when you had to see him in LA and then even the Miami version on Detroit. But it hit me that we never have gotten to Tim Duncan. And this particular game, you get into some foul trouble. You catch 5 fouls. Now, only 22 minutes played. So you're only out there half the time. But you and him are going back and forth. There's a YouTube video with about 6 minutes of highlights between the two of you guys here. I just want to hear from you what it was like to guard who is maybe even more than arguably, but a consensus best power forward of all time in the middle of his prime.
Oh man, it was definitely an honor guarding Timmy. Excuse me. Him and I went back to college. You know, he went to Wake Forest. My sophomore year was his freshman year, and we had some good battles back then. But he had Randolph Childress. He was a monster in school. Of course, he was the man. And then when Tim Duncan came along, nobody really knew who he was because on that high school scene, at least nobody heard of him like, oh, Tim Duncan, number one big man in the country, blah, blah, blah. You know, he didn't come in with the hype. He came in just exactly what his nickname is to me, big fundamentals. You know, he's not athletic as far as he's not going to give 360 windmill. He's not going to give backwards dunk or go between the legs, hit the East Bay Funk dunk. He ain't going to do none of that shit, but he going to dunk that shit one hand or dunk that shit two hand forward. He's fundamental, and I think that's one of the things that made him a great player is the fact he didn't step outside his game. Kept everything simple, and I think the other thing that really helped Tim Duncan blossom, in my opinion, was the fact that he spent his whole career with that one team. People don't understand, like, that plays a huge part in your career, playing with one team for your whole career. Like, he did it. Kobe did it, and it's very, very few that do it and prosper the way that they did. So, that also is a big shout out to the San Antonio Spurs organization. Of course, the mastermind, the crazy scientist behind it was Larry Brown's homie, Greg Popovich, who you have to definitely say he's arguably one of the greatest coaches to coach in the league. But going up against Tim Duncan, man, it was always, all right, here it is. We got to put our nuts on the table right here. Him against me, mano a mano. So I'd always stepped up to that challenge. It was always with him and KG when, my years and C-Webb with my years when I played in the league. But Tim Duncan, man, yeah, I would have to agree. He's definitely one of the arguably best power forwards. It depends on what people like. But, yeah, the guy, he's a smart basketball player, high IQ because, again, with him not being that athletic, it's other things that you have to do better to make up for that.
I'm fascinated as you tell the story of aligning years with Tim Duncan. I'm watching some of the gameplay. This is 2005, so it's 18 years ago. And the score was 32-29. I think the timestamp in this highlight package was the beginning of the second quarter. And you step out beyond the three-point line. And we take that for granted in today's game. Someone of your size and playing a 5 or a 4 can just step out from beyond the 3 and knock it down and make the defense pay, right? That's an expectation. It's a prerequisite to being an NBA player in the year 2023. But I'm watching Tim Duncan have to scramble from inside the free throw line and use foot speed to get out and close you down. And it's just bucket after bucket with you stretching the floor, man. And this is the common denominator in almost every single highlight package that we watched. Well, you're also going to the rim right there, which is nice and challenging, an all defensive player. But your ability to stretch the floor against Tim Duncan and just try and stretch this patent elite defense. I mean, what do you do? The highlight you just watched right there, you've got your hands up. Mm-hmm. He's drop stepping you. He's jumping into you and he's throwing some shit off the backboard and it just goes in. Like, it's got to be frustrating as hell that you do everything within your power. And sometimes it's not enough. And maybe is that just the definition of a great player?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we in basketball we call it great defense, better offense. When you have a guy like, look, I challenged it right there. Of course, again, I was in foul trouble and he knew that. But I still challenged it, jumped straight up, and of course, like you said, he made a great shot. Good defense, better offense. But like I said, he's a smart player, man. He always was a team player as well. Now, as far as his whole persona in the locker room, I'm not sure. I only could talk about when we're on a court. To me, he was like a ninja. He was like that quiet assassin. I would say him and Antonio McDyess. They are two of the most quietest guys that I know that gets buckets. Ain't no real shit talking coming from either one of them. They just gonna go out there and get buckets.